ice-covered track on a vehicle called a sled, bobsled, bobsleigh, or bob. The sport earned its name after competitors adopted the technique of bobbing back and forth to increase the speed of the sled. One by one, each team slides their sled down the track, with the objective of establishing the fastest time among all competitors. Wearing spiked shoes, the team pushes their sled at the start to gain the highest speed before they jump in one by one. Then, they ride and control the gravity-powered sled down the winding track. Their goal is to find the perfect line, while turning as little as possible during their run. The perfect line is keeping the sled high enough in turns to maintain speed, but low enough to avoid traveling a longer distance. Bobsleigh has been an iconic part of the Olympics since the first Winter Games in 1924. Its lone absence was in 1960, when the organizers in Squaw Valley, USA, refused to construct a bobsleigh track. There are 4 events in Olympic bobsleigh, 2 each in the men's and women's competitions. They are the 2-man bob, 4-man bob, 2-woman bob, and the newly introduced women's monobob. Germany has won the most golds in Olympic bobsleigh competition with 13. Switzerland is second with 10 golds, but has the most total medals with 31. The United States has the third most golds with 7. On a 111-meter track, which is about the size of the Olympic hockey rink. This compares to the 400-meter track used in long track speed skating. In this discipline, a pack of skaters race against each other rather than the clock in long track speed skating, making for faster and more thrilling races. Because the track is smaller and the turn sharper, there are strict guidelines on passing another skater. Physical contact resulting in pushing and shoving is not allowed. Skaters battle for position right from the start. They jostle for position all throughout the race. Short track speed skating made its Olympic debut at the 1992 Winter Games in Albertville, France. South Korea won 2 of the 4 gold medals at stake in 1992 and has dominated the sport ever since. The Koreans have garnered a total of 24 gold medals in short track speed skating from 1992 to 2018. China is a far second with 10 golds, while Canada is third overall with 9 gold medals. 9 gold medals are up for grabs in short track speed skating in Beijing 2022. The men's competition consists of 4 events: the 500 meters, 1,000 meters, 1,500 meters, and the 5,000-meter relay. Events in the women's competition are the 500 meters, 1,000 meters, 1,500 meters, and the 3,000-meter relay. The 9th event is the 2,000-meter mixed relay. Cross-country skiing is also one of the original disciplines at the Winter Games. Making its first appearance at the inaugural 1924 Winter Olympics at Chamonix, France, it grew from 2 contested events during the first 3 games to 12 medal events since the Albertville 1992. In Beijing 2022, this 1,000-year-old sport has separate men and women events in the skiathlon, individual sprint freestyle, classical skiing, relay, mass start freestyle, and team sprint classical. That is 6 each and a total of 12 medal events. Classical skiing is different from freestyle because here the skier moves back and forth in a parallel motion inside parallel grooves of snow. Participants stay in groomed tracks and use sticky wax on the base of their skis to gain traction on the snow and propel themselves forward. Freestyle skiing is the faster of the two. Here, the skier moves his feet from side to side just like in ice skating. Freestyle skiers wear longer skis but use shorter poles than classical skiers. The distances in the men's competition are greater than that of the women's in the different races. The men's classical race is 15 kilometers long, while the women's event is 10 kilometers. Skiathlon is 30 kilometers for men and 15 kilometers for women. The mass start freestyle is 50 kilometers for men and 30 kilometers for women. Norway, the birthplace of cross-country skiing, has fittingly dominated the sport since the first Winter Games in 1924. The Norwegians have won 47 golds and a total 121 medals from 1924 up to the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang 2018. Sweden, another Nordic country, is second in the overall tally, 31 golds, a total of 80 medals. That alpine skiing became a regular Olympic sport. From that auspicious debut, it evolved to become one of the most thrilling attractions in the Games. As its name implies, skiers from alpine countries dominated this discipline. Leading the overall medal tally is Austria, a country located high atop the central eastern Alps. Austrian skiers have garnered a total of 121 medals, 37 of them gold in the sport. At the 2018 Winter Games, Austria topped the leaderboard with 3 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze medals. Marcel Hirscher led the Austrians in Pyeongchang, Korea, with 2 golds coming from the men's giant slalom and the combined event. In Beijing 2022, 11 events are calendared in the alpine skiing schedule. They are the downhill, Super G or Super Giant Slalom, combined, Giant Slalom, and Slalom in both the men's and women's competitions. The 11th and last medals in alpine skiing are awarded in a unique team event. This is one of the rare Olympic events where both men and women form a team and jointly compete. Alpine skiing is the only discipline where the Philippines is represented at Beijing 2022. Asa Miller will be the lone Filipino at the Siao Haito Alpine Skiing Field as he competes against the best in the world in the men's slalom and giant slalom. This will be the second Olympic trip for the Filipino skier. Miller finished 70th out of 110 in the giant slalom at the 2018 Winter Games in Pyeongchang. One likely candidate is the daring discipline of luge racing, where accidents, including one fatal, have occurred at the Olympics. This sport, which takes its name from the French word for sled, employs a crudely controlled luge that can reach breakneck speeds that exceed the limit in our expressways. In this sport, athletes begin in a sitting position and launch themselves forward using their hands to gain speed. Then, they lie on their back, feet first, and slide down the track. The luge is a simple sled that has no brakes or steering mechanism. The athletes steer the sled using the calf muscles on their lower legs and move their shoulders to shift their weight. Gravity is the only force that propels the luge. Still, racers can rocket down the ice track to up to 150 kilometers per hour as they navigate the turns and straightaways. Luge racing became an official Winter Olympic sport in 1964 in Innsbruck, Austria. Since then, a united Germany has won the most gold medals with 18 out of the 48 given since 1964. In second place is the former East Germany with 13 golds, while Italy, another alpine country, is third with 7 golds. In Beijing 2022, luge racers compete for medals in 4 events. They are men's singles, men's doubles, women's singles, and the mixed team relay. Because it combines two seemingly unrelated sports, skiing and shooting. The biathlon is a very exacting discipline as it requires an unusual balance of speed and endurance, coupled with precision and accuracy. The biathlete must be fast enough to outrace his opponents, but should know when to slow down so that his heart rate will not affect his shooting touch. Germany and Norway have dominated the biathlon competition at the Winter Olympics. The Germans have won 19 golds, while the Norwegians have garnered 16 golds since the sport was first held during the inaugural Winter Games in 1924 at Chamonix, France. Biathletes from all over the world are vying for medals in a total of 11 events at the 24th Winter Olympics at the Hualindong Resort in Zhangjiakou, China. The events in the men's competition are 10-kilometer sprint, 20-kilometer individual, 12.5-kilometer pursuit, 15-kilometer mass start, and the 4x7.5-kilometer relay. The women's events are 7.5-kilometer sprint, 15-kilometer individual, 10-kilometer pursuit, 12.5-kilometer mass start, and the 4x6-kilometer relay. The 11th event is the mixed 4x6-kilometer relay. Olympics program. It is so old that it is even older than the Winter Olympics itself. Figure skating became an Olympic sport at the 1908 Summer Games in London. Its second appearance was at 1920 Olympics in Antwerp, after which it was included at the first Winter Games in 1924. Since then, it has been one of the most watched disciplines at the Winter Olympics. The sport's name comes from the patterns made on ice, which are called figures. In figure skating, the participants perform freestyle movements consisting of jumps, spins, and lifts in a graceful fashion. There are 5 medal events in figure skating at the 2022 Beijing Games. They are men's singles, women's singles, pairs, ice dance, and team event. The United States has won the most gold medals in figure skating since the sport's Olympic debut in 1908. The Americans have garnered 15 golds in a total of 51 medals. Russia is close at second in the gold medal tally with 14, while the former Soviet Union is third with 10 golds. Consists of 2 sports popular in Norway, ski jumping and cross-country skiing, combined in a single race. In this sport, the participants first go through the ski jump, where each one tries to establish the greatest distance covered before landing. The placings in the ski jump determine the order of the start in the cross-country portion, with the one registering the greatest distance going first. Thus, the other competitors start the race one at a time, depending on the distances they jumped. This is called the staggered start. The athlete who crosses the finish line first in the cross-country part of the race is declared as the winner, no matter what his place is in the ski jump. The Nordic combined has been part of the Olympics since the first Winter Games in 1924 and has been dominated, not surprisingly, by athletes from Norway. Norwegian skiers have won 13 gold medals in a total of 37 events since the 1924 Chamonix Olympics. Germany is a far second with 5 golds, while Finland, a neighbor of Norway, is third with 4 gold medals. There are 3 gold medals at stake in Nordic combined at the 2022 Beijing Winter Games. They are the individual normal hill, individual large hill, and the team relay. Nordic combined is the only Winter Games discipline that is exclusively for men. But in 2026, women may crash into the sport if the International Olympic Committee has deemed that development time for female skiers is sufficient. Olympic Games even before the first Winter Olympics in 1924. At the 1920 Summer Games in Antwerp, Belgium, ice hockey made its debut with 7 nations taking part. Canada, represented by the Winnipeg Falcons, handily won the gold by rampaging through the tournament. In the final, Canada swamped Sweden 12 goals to 1 to win the Olympic title, which also served as the World Championship that time. Since then, Canada has dominated the sport, garnering a total of 13 gold medals up to 2018, including 4 in the women's tournament. The former Soviet Union is second with 7 Olympic titles, while the United States has 4 Olympic golds. In Beijing 2022, 2 gold medals is at stake in ice hockey, the men's tournament, and the women's tournament. In Olympic ice hockey, each team can field 20 skaters and 2 goaltenders in a game. However, a team must not have more than 6 players on the ice while play is in progress. Typically, a team consists of 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and 1 goaltender. Just like in field hockey or football, the team with more goals in the end wins. Ice hockey is one of the most exciting games in all of sports. The action is virtually non-stop, with the players combining speed, skill, grace, power, and agility to thrill the crowds as well as shoot for the goal.